Pizza Nation, let's ride.
Let's ride, baby.
It's your boy, Robert Winstanley, alongside Hollywood Sean Murphy. Sean, how are you, sir?
Dude. Bronco Nation. Let's ride. I'm feeling great, man. So
Beautiful.
good. I mean, no, it's now we're kind of in that little lull of we have 2 weeks until NFL football starts up and is fully back.
Hell yeah.
We have college football coming up this weekend, which
Notre Dame Fighting Irish start off at Ohio State, which is a hell of a first game.
Oh, so you just get to get your depression right out of the way.
Our season literally can be made or broken game one. So
it can be broken or broken game one.
Fuck you.
Am I wrong?
We might have a chance. We might be all right.
Your coach's first game, literally as head coach. Well, that's not entirely true. His first game was the bowl game last year, right?
That is right.
Where they got their asses kicked.
We are not going to talk about that. We're going to be just fine, Shan.
He's going to have a really good first 2 games on the resume.
Fuck you, Shan.
Hey, it's okay. At least it's not what Michigan has going on right now. Did you see Jim Harbaugh's announcement last week?
No. Was it him releasing the entire roster, or is that different?
No. So
whatever the fuck he did.
He made a decision on the quarterback situation. Okay. And here's the decision he made.
Here we go.
So we're not ready to say who the starting quarterback will be. But
Beautiful.
The decision we have made is that Cade McNamara will start the opener against Colorado State, and J.J. McCarthy will start the second game against Hawaii. And then after week 2, we're going to make a decision going into week 3 on the starter and the backup. So they're going to have them play 2 different opponents.
Right.
And both start 2 different games.
Sure.
And based off of that, they're going to choose their quarterback.
So they have no fucking idea what they're doing.
They have no fucking idea what they're doing.
This team is lost already.
Uh-huh.
Which, so you're talking shit about Notre Dame then, huh?
Well,
That's interesting.
Listen, because Jim Harbaugh said, I just feel that we have 2 quarterbacks that we feel very confident that we can win a championship with either of these 2 behind center. I don't know what I don't know if that's a Little Caesars World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know if that's a Big Ten championship.
Might be he might just purchase one like I did.
It's definitely not going to be. It's definitely not going to be a national championship. I feel comfortable saying that.
Well, and considering that both of those quarterbacks are,
well, I think McNamara he had moments last year where, he like in particular he played really well against Ohio State. He was completely flustered against Georgia, but yet again, what the hell do you expect against Georgia? That team was different last year. But in addition, like McNamara, you could tell right away if he didn't get momentum early, it was kind of chalked. And then McCarthy, all I hear about is how talented this kid is. And then every time I see him come in the brightest lights, he comes in and just it all up. He literally came in 2 plays against MSU on a drive
and blew it.
Literally almost fumbled the ball and gave it to the team on 1 snap. And then fumbled the ball and gave it to Michigan State on the next. I was like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, listen, it's I as you recall, I was kind of hoping and was saying, hey, this might be a good time for Jim Harbaugh to go to the Vikings. I was kind of hoping that was a reality, but I mean, instead, we're going to get whatever
you're
this year
stuck with him.
Yeah, we're just we're here.
Have fun with that. Well, Sean, at the top of the
have fun with that.
At the top of the show here, I would like to I feel like I have to do this, Sean. I must make a formal
my God,
apology.
I just realized the full shrine that you have to this man, right? Literally the last episode we had. What's going on here? This guy's a piece of trash.
I would
this
like
guy.
to make a formal apology to Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. I was just kidding. Come on, you guys know I was just kidding, right?
So wait, what? I was just kidding.
It's the SpongeBob, the Squidward thing.
Right?
Yeah. We're good. Water under the bridge. He's back. We're good. We're good.
I didn't think this was gonna be much of a thing then. And listen, now that he's back, I mean, he said he had a whole ton of shit going on. I don't know. Maybe he was on the Masked Singer.
He said he loves the Buccaneers. We're good. He said he wouldn't have went to any other team. I totally believe his PR bullshit. It doesn't matter.
Dude, you're like, I didn't realize you just got the red, the white, you got the Gronk alternate in the background.
Yeah, so I've got the home reds, which they usually actually wear the white but it doesn't matter. Anyways, we got the away whites here with Brady, and then I don't have Brady in the pewter alternates, but I do have Gronk. I got that actually while I was in Minnesota. There was a sports shop that had this on the clearance rack.
Of course.
And I was like, that's like $150 or more jersey or something like that, and they had it for like, I think maybe $100 or something like that. And I was like, I mean, and it's actually kind of hard to find them because they're usually sold out. So I was like, I gotta have it, and I didn't have their alternate yet. So now I have all three of our team's jerseys until they bring back the creamsicles. And then I even have the 2 championship hats from.
You've completed the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. I've got 2000. What was it? 2002 or 2003? Whenever we won the first fucking Super Bowl, and then the one from 2020.
Mm-hmm. So, yep. Good times.
I need to get a Bucks flag here in the middle, but I don't have that yet. So for now, it's that. So
you piece of garbage.
Well, and then I think
this is definitely his last year, though, right?
Oh, it's got to be. The 2002 Red Wings. Where is it? There it is. Championship keg here, and so there's some Detroit in there, technically speaking.
There's
and
Detroit
then
buried in deep down.
Right here, for those who, I don't know if you can actually see it on the camera, probably not, but it is a weird photo I got from Comic-Con of Robert Downey Jr. and the lower half of his body is an octopus, and he's laying sexily on the beach.
All right, so anyway.
So there is that.
Just run the credits of the pizza. Hey, all right,
that's
guys.
Right. Well, that was it anyways.
They just see a 7-minute, 28-second episode.
It'll make sense, but yeah, no, anyways, I just had to make my formal apology to the greatest of all time, to my quarterback, and the man who will bring us to our third franchise championship. And that man is of course Tom Brady.
I will say, I do think it is interesting that at 45 years of age, Tom Brady's peers did vote him as the number 1 player on the top 100 list, which, by the way,
yes, I think he's been on there, 5 times?
Yeah, which, by the way, is the dumbest list that comes out every
You got it.
It is the worst thing. I hate it. It is so stupid because people actually put value into it.
Yep.
And then we get all these like freaking like, and then there's always those ones that were only thrown in there to like piss people off, which this year they threw a kicker in the top 100 to piss people off. It's just always one of those things.
Wait, who is the kicker? Was it Justin Tucker?
Of course it was Justin Tucker.
Oh, I could put him in the top 100.
Oh, heck yeah, you can. He's Justin mother-freaking Tucker, man.
Of course.
That guy.
Out of 100 players in the NFL, I'm probably going to put Justin Tucker up in there.
Well, yeah, he's probably the leading scorer in the league over the past decade plus, you got to think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
He's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sure you don't really love him considering that doink field goal that he got at Ford Field, but, longest in history, it's fine.
All right, so that was the episode.
Just continuously pissing off Sean.
Oh man, I didn't know my life was crossing over into this podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it'd be like that. Hey, so when does the NBA when's tip off? The very first opening. What do they call it? It's not opening day. What is it called?
Opening night.
Is that what they call it? Okay, I just didn't know because I know what baseball is
I think
called.
they call it like tip off.
Okay, cool. When
Um,
is that, Sean? What
so
games?
yeah, so the league doesn't start until October 18th.
Jesus.
So
Okay. That is
yes.
further than I expected.
Well, so what yeah, so what's coming down the pipeline for the NBA? So over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of weeks, teams are going to start reporting to training camp. So we're going to start seeing media days. Currently, one of the big things that's going on in the NBA world. Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks are
Oh,
actively
yes.
trying to make that a reality.
Mm.
The Knicks even set a deadline uh, to this past Monday where either they would uh, get a Donovan Mitchell trade done or they would sign RJ Barrett to a long term contract. And so they ended
Okay.
up signing RJ Barrett to the contract. So
Okay, I mean,
now,
he's a
so
good player.
that doesn't rule out the deal ever happening. It's just like
It
it's
makes it
going to
less
take
likely.
it's just going to take a while longer. And it's going to make it more complicated. So poor Donovan Mitchell might actually have to be in those god awful Utah Jazz uniforms this year. So
Does now the you probably don't know the answer to this question, but does the NBA have a rule of how long you must wear a uniform? Because in the NFL, they have a 5-year rule. I don't know if you knew this, but they actually have a rule where if you change your uniforms, I'm pretty sure about this unless they changed it again. But there was a rule where you
mhm,
had to once you've changed it, you're stuck with it for 5 years, which is why the Buccaneers had to wear the alarm clock numbers for 5 full seasons,
right.
and then we got the classics back.
Right. So to answer your question, I don't
Uh-huh.
think there's an actual set amount of time that you have to keep a certain uniform. Now,
Okay.
the way that the NBA does it is that they really take their uniforms by a yearly cycle. I mean, obviously you have the more
Right.
mainstay permanent uniforms, which for the most part, we haven't really seen like the Jazz are like kind of like one of the first like major change ups. I mean, we saw the Hawks
Well,
make
and
one.
Cleveland.
Yeah, we saw Cleveland. So, like, we've seen a few other teams do it now, but, essentially, like, you're really only gonna see a team change their uniforms if they do that full scale type of rebrand as
Gotcha.
well. I think with Utah, I wish I could tell you what in the hell they were thinking, what they were doing.
I don't know because the Cleveland one I like, but the Utah one is
Yeah, it's rough. It is rough. But, I
it's
would
hard to look
imagine
at.
I would imagine that it's gonna last this season. I would
Mhm.
imagine that, like, they probably last 2 seasons, and then I would imagine after 2 seasons, there's no chance in hell they last beyond that.
There can't, right? Like,
No,
it's
no,
kinda
no,
like the
no.
Atlanta Hawks, like, those speaking of, like, those ones were fucking terrible. I mean, those Atlanta Hawk ones with, like, the weird diamonds all over them and the neon and, like, just 7 different colors that
Yeah.
made no sense, Jesus. Which is insane because, like, now they have some of the best in the entire NBA, especially those, like, Pulp Fiction looking black ones. Ooh.
Yeah, they were a team that also went back to their classic style. They went back to kind of that more '90s look, which
Yeah.
I think suits the Atlanta Hawks way better than that neon BS that they were going with for
Yeah,
sure, but
100%.
no, but I mean,
Aren't
it's
the
gonna be
Wizards changing their uniforms, or am I insane?
they just have an anniversary uniform this year because
Oh, gotcha,
They're
okay.
they have the anniversary unis from the first year of the Washington
Oh,
Wizards, like the
that's
original
right, they've got
Wizards.
the MJ ones, the
Yep,
blue with, like, the
yep.
I actually low-key kinda love those.
They're sick uniforms and, like, they look a lot cooler in the modern day,
Yeah, pull
uh,
those up.
but at the same time, the only thing is just, like, they kinda just sucked while they wore those, and they
Yeah, but
just
so did we in the teal jerseys, so it doesn't matter.
well, okay, but, we had Grant Hill, though,
That's true, that's
and,
true.
like, they had Michael Jordan for, like, 2 years, but,
That's
like,
not nothing.
it's not, but it's definitely really not really
It's
something.
not much of something. Hey,
No,
listen though, Sean,
they had
here's the
Gilbert
thing.
Arenas,
The
but
Wi the Wizards have some of the worst uniforms in the NBA, so I gotta tell you, I'd be okay with it at this point. Like, first of all, the Wizards have never really been, like, amazing. So, like,
right. Well, yeah, that's not what
I
we're
I
saying.
I'd be
It
cool. I'd be cool with them doing these more permanently or something. They gotta change something. Like, they do need to be the next one on the list of, like, teams to do this full scale rebrand everything. The Wizards have got to be next. Oh, those are so good.
Yeah, they do look
Yeah,
cool. Now
the
they
white. Ooh,
now they are doing another one this year as
those
well.
are
They're
great.
doing the Cherry Blossom
Yeah,
Wizards
the
jersey. Have
kind
you
of like
seen
the
those?
Nationals,
Yeah,
because
actually.
the Nationals
So
did that in the MLB. So
yeah, so they actually have a side by side of the comparison of those two. So the Wizards cherry blossom jerseys I actually really like. I think they look pretty sick too. But
those are
um
really nice. I really like those. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be cool to see those in
Hmm.
losses all year. But
Yeah, I
I
mean the
mean,
team's gonna be ass. Like who's left on that squad anyway?
they have Bradley Beal, they have
Oh, they still. Yep, yep, yep.
Kyle Kuzma.
Sure.
And so, yeah, for the Jazz, I would imagine that, I would imagine that they're going to do a rebrand soon, but yeah, no, I listen, to the original point,
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, the way more important point,
Oh yeah,
Donovan
yeah, yeah.
Mitchell,
Donovan Mitchell. My bad. My
yeah,
bad.
the big chip on the board that could go to the New York Knicks. I think if this happens, I think this would be a really huge thing for the Knicks as a whole.
Yeah.
Ever since they lost Carmelo Anthony, they just haven't had that star. And really they haven't, since before Carmelo Anthony, they haven't been able to have a star that helps them with winning games and getting stars to come to the Knicks as well. Because like when they went and got Carmelo, they
Right.
literally dumped all of their assets to go and get him.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, awesome. Now, how are you guys going to surround me with a team? And they were like, wait, what do you mean?
You are the team.
What? They're like, wait, didn't you guys have a plan?
No.
No, this was our plan. Mortgaging all for you was our
You
plan.
are the plan.
You are the plan. So, what I will say, it would be really fun to see the 6-1 and under backcourt of Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. And that would be an absolute nightmare in the
Yeah.
short term. And I think Tom Thibodeau would have an aneurysm with that team's defensive success or lack thereof.
Right.
So just off of that alone, I want it to happen so bad.
So, yes. Now, the thing with the Knicks at this point, if they want success, I think a couple of things need to happen. One, I
They need to
think
sell the
that,
team.
well, other than that, but yes. Um,
James
other than
Dolan,
sell
worst
the
owner in
team,
basketball.
but yes. Yeah, yeah, he's him and the
Robert
guy from the
Sarver.
Suns.
Robert Sarver, yeah. Robert
Yeah,
Sarver.
those two. Um, the thing with the Knicks, though, they definitely need a new coach. I think
Mhm.
that was kind of a ill-fated move to begin with. They clearly didn't learn from the Chicago Bulls, so that's fun. And then, uh, is Donovan Mitchell the answer? He can be part of the solution, I guess. I don't know if he's the answer.
Yeah, I don't think he's the answer, but I think he's more so like he's the best route they have.
Yeah,
He
easily.
truly, like, for one, like, he's from the New York area, like
That'd be cool.
Leon Rose, the former agent turned president of basketball ops for the Knicks, has relationships with Donovan Mitchell. So like they like in all reports and everything suggests like Donovan Mitchell wants to go to the Knicks. Like
Gotcha.
it's the worst kept secret that we have going on right now. So it's one of those things where like I would imagine this is gonna happen. I'll be interested. What I will say is that one thing to keep an eye on is who's the person making the trade for the Utah Jazz, and that is Danny Ainge, former Celtics president, who said he was retiring from the Celtics. Yeah, Mister. Why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah, Mister. Why is that? Goes to Utah. You know, literally shakes the entire foundation of the league by
Mhm.
getting 25 first round picks for Rudy Gobert, and then now is probably going to get a crazy haul for Donovan Mitchell as well.
Yeah, so
And
that was my next question is what are the Knicks going to have to give up to make this happen? And also, are the Knicks at this point the only other option, or are they the only option for him to get out of Utah? Basically,
so here's what we know.
okay,
I don't think they're the only option, but they're the best option because
gotcha.
first of all, It's they have the most amount of picks that they can send and return in a trade for Donovan Mitchell right now, as far as a realistic trade partner. Like the Thunder could probably, if they wanted to, send a whole ton of picks, but like it's not realistic.
Yeah, and that
And
would defeat like
yeah,
everything they've been trying to do.
yeah, and like Charlotte, in theory, if they wanted to, could get in the conversation as well. But like, here's the thing: like, what are the odds you get Donovan Mitchell to come to Charlotte and then he resigns in Charlotte? You know what I'm
Yeah, and
saying? Like,
and I was just intrigued by that and thought that would be awesome. And then I remembered that Miles Bridges just decided to destroy his career for no reason. So
uh-huh. Yep. Yep, exactly. So it's one of those things where, like really the Knicks the Knicks are the most realistic option in the sense that he would resign, he'd want to be there long term, but
right,
also for Danny Ainge from the Jazz's perspective, not only do they have the most picks, but it's the picks of the Knicks.
right,
And
who are
and
terrible, so they're
and
worth a lot more.
and historically, New York Knicks first round picks are very valuable when they're not in the hands of the New York Knicks. And like as much of an insult as that is, like it's crazy how true that is. Like it's
I mean,
so for him to have the opportunity to not only and imagine from Danny Ainge's perspective, right?
mhm.
To take your two cornerstone pieces and get a ton of first round picks to start your rebuild. And where did he get those first round picks from? Minnesota and the Knicks. What do those two teams have in common, Robert?
Sean's going full. What is it, Sean?
They're like two of the worst teams of the last 20 years. They
They
both
very much are.
suck.
So
Like,
those
so
picks are good picks.
they're good picks, especially if these teams do not work out the way that we anticipate, which is a very real possibility. So,
Speaking of, put a pin in this so that I remember because I won't remember. Uh, I want to know what picks the Thunder have and how valuable those picks are because everyone's talked about how they have like unlimited picks. And it's like, okay, well, unlimited picks are only good if they're coming from shit teams. Because if you're getting a bunch of picks from like the Lakers and they've got LeBron and like
mhm,
7 stars and he's going to go win championships for the next few years,
mhm.
then they're not that valuable.
So I'm glad you asked
Okay.
because we literally talked about this on the pod yesterday when we
Well, I'm
recorded.
sure that's very good for our content.
No, 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 it's totally fine because it
Okay,
just
okay,
means that we
okay.
can go through a really quick overview.
Awesome.
So literally, here's what they have. Okay, in the
Yes.
2023 draft, they own 3 picks total, 1 first round pick, 2 seconds. So the 2023 draft is their most tame draft they have in the coming years.
Okay.
2024, they own 4 first round picks, which one of them is their own, one of them is the Clippers, one of them is the Rockets, and one of them is the Jazz. Um, but the thing is with those is like there's a lot of protections, there's a lot of things that go into like those picks, so it's not like always just like you just get their pick, right?
Gotcha.
There's
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
a way that like so like for example, one of these like the Rockets pick is top 4 protected.
Top. Yeah,
So
yeah. I was gonna say
so
that.
so,
Yep.
so like if the Rockets still really sucked and ended up in the top 4, they wouldn't be screwed. Now they ended up top 5, that goes to the Thunder. So, but at the end of the day, what they have going for them, it's the quality of the picks. They can still get good players out of it, but also the sheer quantity they have because they have 4 first round picks going into
Right.
2024. They have
Regardless
three,
of how good or bad they are, you have 4 of them.
yeah, they have 3 first round picks um in 2025. They have 3 first round picks in 2026. They have two
Jesus.
first round picks in 2027. Like they're gonna have multiple first round picks for years to come. They actually might have more than 3 in 2025. They might have like 5 or might have like 4 or 5 first round picks. It's honestly like they um
Better
the
hope that's a good draft because the thing is like imagine if that's like a really shit draft and then it's just like, all right,
mhm.
well we have
so
5 of these guys and like one of them's good.
so I read the top of the article. I'm really glad I did. Through 2029, which is what they have listed in this article on it is on Inside the Thunder. So go on Fan Nation Inside the Thunder to check it out. The Thunder own 38 picks over the next draft years. They own 19
Holy cow.
firsts, 19 firsts and 19 second round picks. So
Wow.
that's not and that's and again, that's before you get into protections, pick
Right.
swaps. That's before you get into all that stuff, which is where it can get really messy. But what
I was
this
gonna
means,
say, oh, sorry.
but here's the big picture for here's what it means for the Thunder.
Yes.
Here's why it care. Here's why it matters.
Mhm.
First of all, like you said, at a certain point you get so many first round picks. It's not even about like the quality. It's like they're all generally speaking gonna be within that range.
Mhm.
And it's really about having those opportunities to take more swings. And even then, what the Thunder have done over the last couple of years is they're not taking all of those picks. They're even taking and bundling picks to trade up and get guys they like in the draft. And in that way, instead of getting like four guys in the first round, they get like two or three, but like they traded up to go get those guys. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
So they, and then in addition, they're going to have the ability to make trades and, instead of trade for guys in the draft, they're going to be able to trade for stars and veterans and use those picks as assets to cash in when they want to. So, the Thunder, even though they have like the Chet Holmgren injury, like they're still going to be perfectly fine. Like as far as like when you're looking on like the NBA Game of Thrones, like
Yeah.
like winter is coming, like, oh crap, like the Thunder are gonna be a problem.
Yeah. Them and Utah are gonna be issues.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Utah, it's hard to tell because they're very much at the beginning and they still have to like
If they make
they
the deal with the Knicks happen, then they'll be a threat.
yeah, for sure. They even just got Talen Horton Tucker as
I
well from the
saw that they
Lakers.
finally, yeah,
Dude,
the
so
Lakers finally got rid of him.
okay, so can I point something out to you?
Please.
So going into last season,
Mm,
so 2 seasons ago now, my apologies. 2
okay.
seasons ago at the trade deadline, they could have gotten a guy that was an all-star. His name was Kyle Lowry.
You mean on my Miami Heat?
Exactly. They were actually very close to getting Kyle Lowry. A deal was reportedly almost done. But what held up the deal and ultimately made it not go through for the Lakers was that they were unwilling to part with Taylor and Horton Tucker in the deal to get
Oh my
Kyle
lord.
Lowry. Now, 2 years later, not only did they trade Taylor Horton Tucker,
Yeah,
but instead of in return getting Kyle Lowry,
sure.
you got Patrick Beverly. And listen, I am a Patrick Beverly stan. I love the guy. I love watching him play,
Okay.
but bruh,
Like, they
that
literally reached a point last season where it
that is a
seemed
level of asset management that you shouldn't be allowed to buy 2K and play
yeah.
my GM mode, let alone keep running the Los Angeles Lakers.
It's true.
Like, oh my lord, man. It's just one of those things where it's like, wow.
I mean, they
Lord.
reached a point last season where it felt very much like they were just trying to get rid of him at some points. Like, they
Mhm.
were just starting to shop him to anyone because they just were kind of desperate, which just felt sad and weird.
Dude,
Like, they
I
were
feel
gonna
like
trade
there
him
were
for a
people
bag
at
of used balls.
dude, there were people at pawn shops trying to get me Talon Horton Tucker, Kendrick Nunn in a first.
Right.
Like,
They
it,
just desperate.
dude, it's crazy. But like no one bought it because it wasn't anything worthwhile. It's interesting though, because now Talon Horton Tucker is actually in a way better situation because he doesn't have to have the pressure of playing against LeBron. Now he could actually go to a place that's like, hey, we're gonna suck anyway. Here's your room to grow. And then
Yeah.
like, what's the worst case scenario for the Jazz? You lost out on Patrick Beverly.
Okay.
Like, and
The
imagine if
team's
he's a good
screwed
player
anyway.
still. Yeah, and imagine if he's a good player still. So for the Los Angeles Lakers, the only way that's a good trade is if you make the playoffs and make a deep run. Otherwise,
Yep.
that's an L.
It's a pretty big L.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Can't spell Los Angeles without the L.
that's true. Yeah, Lakers have literally a giant capital L on like most of their hats and stuff like that. Or it's just the L.
And
Um,
almost six times more championships than my franchise has, but that's okay.
Yep,
That's fine.
they sure do. They sure do. They. How many championships do the Miami Heat have? We have 2, right? Or am I forgetting one? Is there 3?
Oh yeah, there is 3. So
There's 3. Okay.
They won in 06, and then they won 2 with LeBron.
With LeBron. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I was like, they should have the same as the Pistons. So I was just like, we're in the same boat.
Pistons.
The Pistons.
God dang it.
Good old Pistons. It's fine. Speaking of which, is their first game of the season home or away?
So the Pistons' first game is home.
Ooh.
And I'm actually super pumped because their first game of the season, they're hosting the Orlando Magic, which sounds which on the surface it's like, oh, it's the Magic. However,
but they had the first pick, didn't they?
They had the first pick. So opening night is the matchup of the last 2 number 1 picks, Cade Cunningham versus Paolo Banchero. So
I like that a lot.
I am insanely excited for that one. So
Paolo Bancheros?
Paolo Banchero. It's Paolo Banchero.
I gotta be honest, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pronounce that like consistently, but I'm gonna try really hard.
You'll get
once I learn his name, I will. But
yeah, there'll be a point where you'll know his name.
Okay. Yeah, because there's definitely been some players like that where I'm like, I hear it first, and I'm just like Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like, oh geez,
he's gonna be another one of these guys we're looking at in a few years, and it's like, okay, so this guy's like running the league, huh? All right,
gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So
well, that's cool. Good for the
Magic.
The Magic. I was just like, so here's the thing.
You forgot their name 30 seconds after we set the team.
Well, so here's the problem that I run into sometimes. In my brain, and I don't know why this is, maybe it's just the Magic part, but the Magic and the Wizards are the exact same franchise to me. They are the same team, and they just, they don't exist separately.
Well, you know what's weird for me is that like I have the whole weird Grand Rapids angle with the Magic, where like like
because the DeVosses own it. Yeah,
the DeVosses own it. And so it's weird because it's like I see all the Disney stuff, and then I see all like the swagger, and then it's like on the other hand, like I know like the DeVosses own you. So it's like the least amount of swag you can have. Like
God,
having
the DeVosses
having Amway like all over your crap. I
don't do anything correctly ever.
But here's what I will say though.
Yes.
Paulo's gonna be sick for them. I am excited to see. The NBA is better when Orlando's good. The NBA is better when Orlando. It is.
Does anybody care or notice?
They were pretty cool in the 90s, man. Shaq
I forget
and Penny
that they're
Hardaway,
a franchise most of the time.
Dude, they almost went to the finals back in the late 90s, the one year when Michael Jordan came back from retirement and they played in the playoffs. Shaq and the Magic actually beat them that year, and they almost went to the finals. And the Magic actually have some pretty cool runs. There have been some cool Magic teams. Just not many.
I mean, they're definitely cooler. They're definitely cooler than the Kings. Like, there's definitely like a handful of teams that I would consider the like forgotten franchises, like ones that if they literally stopped playing, like if they didn't play all season, I wouldn't even, it would take me a while to notice like, oh shit, that franchise just like stopped playing. Like it would take me a minute. Yeah, certainly on that list, it's like the Magic, the Kings, probably the Thunder, to be quite honest with you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, not anymore, because like now they have like things going on, but like I just don't care about them at all.
Okay, here's the problem. You came in the wrong time because you came in when they started sucking.
It's true.
But like the thing is that they literally like for the better part of the last decade were at the
they've been
top
great
of the West and were like had 3 MVPs on their roster. So like
I
It's
mean, they stole that from Seattle. You know what I mean? Well, even though they're the same organization, it's just like that should be Seattle's. It still feels kind of wrong to me because I'm
hey,
just like that wasn't their team.
I'm only good with it because Cone gets to have the Thunder, but that's about it.
Cool, cool, cool. But
Cool.
that
But
was
also,
Seattle's.
you're wrong and I'm right.
That was
Anyway,
that
next.
that that was Seattle's. I don't know if there's any other like forgotten franchises that I would say are like ones that I just literally feel like don't exist. Does San Diego have a team? They used to. They had the Clippers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
I
right. The
mean,
Clippers,
I mean,
they're
no
not a
one's.
forgotten team though.
I mean, no one's. I don't know anyone that's like, hey, when are the Pacers playing?
Yeah, the Pacers definitely. If we didn't live so close and if they weren't like famous for the Malice at the Palace thing, like yeah, the Pacers are definitely
Yeah, if
one
they
of those
weren't
like
division rivals,
yeah,
is
I would
kind of
forget
that.
about them immediately. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%, but
Yeah,
um
they're there.
they're they're kind of there.
The
Um
Indiana Pacers were
they're
here. Like that's their entire marketing.
barely
Like,
a team.
come on. It's just like, come on down to the Indiana Pacers. We
Yeah.
exist.
You know who's a team that's currently in that position, but I know that historically they're not? It's definitely, I feel like, the current Spurs. Like the Spurs are a team that like they play, but nobody cares.
Well,
They
yeah, it's
just exist.
well, especially they've been struggling to find their footing
Yeah,
ever since the Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan era ended.
right.
It's tough because they still had because when those guys retire, it's not like your roster all of a sudden just sucks. Like it's like they still had like all these serviceable good players, and
Yeah,
then that and they had a succession plan. People don't realize it, but they did. It was Kawhi.
yeah,
Like they were gonna be great for years to come, and then the Kawhi situation happened, and that fell apart. And then from there, anytime you lose that type of caliber player, it's gonna take a long time for your team to come back from that. And maybe and this is gonna be the first year that they've been bad
yeah,
since they lost Tim Duncan, which is crazy to think about.
yeah.
And
Ye
they're gonna be bad.
Bad.
Like I'm talking like congratulations already on getting the number one pick. Like Victor Wembanyama, you should start looking at houses in San Antonio. I'm just gonna warn you. You
I
should get
feel it.
Greg. You should get Coach Pop's phone on speed dial while you still have the
How is that
chance.
man still there? Um, yeah, I feel in general like the Texas teams I don't think a lot about, although like the Rockets obviously have been relevant
I
a
mean,
lot over
hey,
the years. And
okay, like you think about like, oh, you don't think about the Texas teams much, but I guess I was about to say the Cowboys and but it's like that's other
but that's
sports.
different.
Yeah, but
Right.
I mean,
Like the Rockets though, the Rockets are like probably the biggest name out of the 3, I would think.
I, you
I mean,
see,
technically probably the Spurs are way bigger just because like they
yes,
had way way
yes,
way more success. But like Jesus.
way more 666.
But like the whole thing with Harden was like really really big and he was a huge attraction, stuff like that, and they were really like it seemed like they made the playoffs every year and had all these things going and whatever and stuff like that. So like that was a big deal.
I mean, Dallas is always, whether they're good or bad, their fans are always packing the arena. So I think
The
that's one
Mavericks
thing. Is
are a weird team. I love their owner, Mark Cuban, and I feel like that's cool and stuff like that. And obviously they've got
that's cool.
that like that doesn't. I mean that doesn't like affect a whole lot. Like you know what I mean. Like well, I mean it does, but it doesn't. But like like they've got things going on sort of, but it always what it feels like with Dallas is it always feels like they have one star player and then I couldn't name a single other guy on the roster. Like that's kind of seems to be their shtick.
Well, yeah.
Because like they did that
Yeah.
with Dirk for years. I feel like because I couldn't
Okay,
name a
but all right.
single other guy with him.
Well, that's because you didn't watch Dirk Nowitzki.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
They had Steve Nash. He had Jason Kidd. He had Vince
Steve
Carter. Like,
Nash. Who cares about Steve Nash?
all right. Well, that does it for the piece.
It's the third time, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
like
okay.
I'm like, well, like the problem is like they did have a lot of really good players, but they were in the early to mid 2000s, and then towards the end of Dirk's career, once we were actually like growing up and like once we
Yeah.
were like teenagers, by that point, it was a more bare bones roster. And with Luca, they just haven't had the opportunity to get really anyone around him since. But like, I mean, they tried.
They've been
They got Port.
trying.
They brought in the unicorn, the Port Zingod. That didn't work out.
Wasn't there
Um,
someone else that they were trying to bring in? I thought Mark
DeAndre
Cuban.
Jordan, and then he was like, "I'll sign," and then he was like, "But nah." Do you remember that?
Yeah, I was also thinking, I swear I saw an interview recently of Mark Cuban talking about somebody that he was trying to get over there. It might have been Kevin Durant. I don't remember, but there was somebody that he was like really trying hard and then they just didn't come there or something like that. And he was just like, well, shit,
Oh yeah, well that's just the story of the Mavericks woes with free agency in general, though. So like literally, they
What is
had
it
a
with that?
well, for one, they're in Dallas. I mean, it's just hard to get guys to, you know, come to Dallas. It's not a huge market for the NBA. I think some of it is. There's been some weird culture stuff with that team over the last few
Really?
years with just like their team culture has been called into question. There's been some investigations and stuff within. I don't really know if that has anything to do with it. I don't
Wow.
know. I don't know if Mark Cuban's a polarizing figure to players, but
Could be.
I think a big thing is historically they're just not like they're a good team, but like they're not always like the most like competitive every year. I think that's a
Right.
difficult piece of it, but also I just think, historically like they've had great players, but I don't know if anyone was running to go like Dirk was a loved player, but Dirk wasn't the type of guy to like garner or get guys to like go to Dallas to play for.
No.
It's just that's just one of those cities where quite frankly, man, it's just hard to get guys to go to. I don't know why,
Interesting.
but it
Yeah,
just
that
is.
seems weird because you would think Dallas is like San Antonio, you're like, sure. Or like Houston, you're like, okay, I guess. But like
I guess
Dallas is
maybe
like
with
the,
but I think with Dallas though, I think the one thing is that even though they do have a pretty loyal fan base, I think that's like one of those cities where I think there's a few cities in America where it's like, all right, make no mistake about it. This is their team. You know what I mean? And it's like
right.
Dallas, like that is Cowboys country, like
Oh
like
yeah.
strictly through and through. And like you could like Michael Jordan could have played for the Mavericks and had his two dynasty runs and do everything that he did, and the Cowboys would still be more iconic in Dallas than the Mavericks would have been. That's just the way it's always going to be. So
Yeah, no, I get that.
I think that's another piece of it too is when you're looking at like being in the other like in the pantheon. Like we'll talk about like the greatness of like Luka Doncic one day, but like we're going to be like, "Oh yeah, he was on the Mavericks." Huh, interesting. That's what it'll be. That's what it'll be for kids in the history books, Like that's just
That's
unless
so sad.
unless they build, which I mean with Luca they have a hell of a chance
They
to.
have a real opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, they have a hell of it, but at the same time, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It
Mhm.
reminds me of the Green Bay Packers of the NBA, where they get a guy where like to me, like I think of these guys of these elite talents of like a Brett Favre or like an Aaron Rodgers, where
Yeah.
they're consistently great for a super long time. Every year, they're awesome. They always put you in a position to at least be in the playoffs or taste success in the playoffs, but for whatever reason, they just couldn't really get it done as many times as you think they should. Like with Dirk specifically, there were times where like they were upset by like there was a time where they were the number one seed and they lost to the 8th seed in the first round. Like there were times where they've blown 3-2 leads. So like with Dirk, like with him, it was always like, he got his ring, but like they
Right.
definitely could have done more. With
Mhm.
Luca, it's gonna be the thing of our Luca's kind of like that Aaron Rodgers. He's the guy that took over, like, came in right after. And it's like, all right, how do we not repeat those same mistakes that we made with Brett Favre? And obviously with the Packers, they didn't learn their
They didn't
lesson.
never learn, yeah.
And with Dallas, obviously they've made some moves that people have questioned so far, but they've definitely been trying. So, yeah, man, I'm glad we talk about it because it's just to me like one of the things that's so interesting to me, man, is just front office stuff. NBA front office dynamics, like the game of like the front office
The
moves,
game
like
within the game.
yeah, man. Like I talk about like I honestly would love like we're seeing all these awesome shows and dramas. Like I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
love
yeah.
to see like a drama of like a Game of Thrones type drama, but based in like the world of like sports execs. Like that would be incredible.
I need.
How amazing would that be? Like just like the backstabbing, like the but like that's honestly to me like that's
Can
the
you
vibes you get.
imagine following around Mark Davis and the Raiders?
Dude, I just want to
I just
follow.
need to see him in a haircut. I just need to see him go to the barbers.
Dude, that's what I like. They like honestly, I
Does
think
he
they made
ask
the
for that haircut?
listen. That show on HBO, the Shop, was a great
Uh-huh.
idea, but
Uh-huh.
they gave it to LeBron, and that was a mistake. Mark
That was the
Davis
wrong one.
needs to be the one. Hello, welcome to the Shop, and it's just centered on on him getting that perfect bowl cut, and it's
It's
just
like up here. He's like ball. It's so. Oh my lord! Please Google Mark Davis and just put him on the on the screen a second. He's just so hard to look at. I love him to death in a way, just because like he's Al Davis's son, and at this point he is the Raiders. But like Jesus.
Dude, this is my favorite photo of him of all time. Just the one where it's like super like groggy. And like I just love all these ones you can see of him in the
The like
background, man.
poofed up hair in the back is great. Like I said, it looks like
Oh,
he's like almost balding a little, and he just sort of like is receding it with it. It's
uh,
like the worst mullet of all time because it's like long in the
oh,
back, but then like
oh, oh. Like, dude,
it's
the
so
worst.
good.
Like,
It's so good.
it looks like he spends $5 on that haircut, but you know he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that hairline over his life.
I mean, it's something, man. It's really a beauty to behold. No.
Oh my gosh.
What's
Speaking
also hilarious is that if you notice, he almost exclusively wears white Raiders merch. Like he never wears like the black Raiders merch. He only wears the white, which makes for him look creamy as
Hold on.
possible.
Hold on. Stop the presses. We're
Okay.
talking about the Raiders. You got that Brady and Gronk jersey right
A
in the
Raider
background.
report.
How in the world have we not talked about the fact that the Raiders screwed up getting Brady and Gronk?
Did we not discuss that last episode?
No.
We didn't?
No. I think we might have alluded to it as I think we made a joke about it. I think we might have I think I might have made a joke about it off pod of like it's fine or like I'm not emotionally prepared to talk about that or something like
Oh
that.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we weren't. So the Raider report.
Dude, no, right? But
Yes.
dude, how are you feel? What was your
Yeah.
reaction? So for those that did not know,
Yeah.
about a week or two ago, there was a UFC card, and right before Kamaru Usman got knocked out and became the latest and greatest meme template out of the UFC,
I was so happy to see that.
there was the Gronk cast on ESPN Plus, which why not just take the Manning cast and just make it worse for every other sport?
Hey,
And
I like
so we're
Gronk.
doing that with the Gronk show where
Yeah.
we're watching the Gronkowskis watch UFC, which
Right. Makes
is like,
perfect sense.
yeah, it's like watching the Kardashians play tennis. I'm with it. Yeah, but
Sure.
no, yeah. So in that show, Dana White revealed that he had worked hard to help put together a deal
Yes.
that would send Brady to the Raiders
Yes.
and Gronk with
to the
him.
Raiders. Yes.
And it didn't come to fruition because of our old friend,
the man we
slash nemesis.
discussed in episode 1.
Oh my God.
Jonathan
That
Gruden.
happened episode 1.
Episode 1 was John Gruden getting canned.
Holy crap.
That was the
dude.
very first Raider report.
And look at us now.
Who
would have thought?
Yeah, Sean. So, the range of emotions that I went through with this. Now,
Because on one hand, you got to be happy that they came to the Bucks, right?
Very unbelievably so.
I mean, you got all those jerseys in there. You freaking better be.
Yes, and for all, it's one of those things where like the Bucks, I think, will always be my 1A, and then the Raiders are my 1B. It's just that's kind of the way it goes when you have two teams, especially consistently two teams. Like
Right.
I kind of bandwagon a little bit in other sports and stuff like that, but like it's very clear who my 1A and my 1B is.
Right.
And very much like in hockey, the Red Wings are my 1A and the Golden Knights are my 1B. So it's just kind of that whole dynamic. So I'm happy that they did that, and I'm very happy they won a Super Bowl. And honestly, I think that the Super Bowl win with the Buccaneers means more to me, because I've been a bigger fan of the Bucks. But then the other part of it is that it felt really vindicating because people have talked so much shit to me about the Buccaneers and why the hell I would root for them, and that they're this stupid franchise that shouldn't exist, and like what the hell's wrong with you. Like the amount of shit I've taken about the Bucks. The Raiders, people like they would give me shit about it, but they kind of understood it, and it's kind of a pop culture thing in the 90s, and
Right.
Dr. Dre and all that kind of stuff. It's got like a different thing all of its own, right? But like nobody's really known for rocking Buccaneers gear. You know what I mean? So like they were just a team. And so like God, did it feel good to just tell everyone to go fuck themselves when I was making all of these, comments about like, oh well, maybe Brady will go to the Bucks, and they're like, why the hell would anyone go to the Bucks? And then sure as shit he does, and then Gronk and this and that, and then once all these guys came, then suddenly it became, oh well, they're gonna suck, right? Like they're gonna suck, and
But
then they won the Super Bowl, so
but
fuck you.
what about the layer of now that we know
Right. So
that
that's the second part of the emotion. The first part is like, I obviously am beyond happy, and I wouldn't change a single thing because the Buccaneers did it, and I'm happy, and fuck all of you for not believing in my Bucks. The second part, though, if that didn't exist, if he had went to the 49ers or to literally any other team except the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I would be more livid than I've ever been in my entire goddamn life. Because
well, and also
because
I was gonna say the other piece of it is, I mean, obviously you'd have to be livid because, of course, I mean, the ineptitude of saying I don't want Tom Brady is insane.
and Rob Gronkowski.
However, the one thing is that Tom Brady did dish Derek Carr,
He did.
a guy that you
I
are
love.
very.
That's my boy. That's my quarterback. He's my
Is he?
Matthew Stafford. He's my
Is he?
Matthew Stafford.
What jersey are you wearing?
Fuck you. He is my he is my Matthew Stafford, man. I love Derek Carr. I believe in Derek Carr.
I believe
Uh
in Derek Carr. Knock on wood if you're with me, man.
and he's gonna sling it to Devontae Adams just fine, and they're gonna be really good this year, and I can't wait to watch the
Who's gonna
Raiders.
block for him?
Go fuck yourself. And God, obviously.
God can't save that offensive line, dude.
He might have to. But man, yeah, it's a range of things with the Raiders because on one part I'm pissed at John Gruden, a man that I've always hated in a lot of ways, and so I'm glad that I've never really felt fond. Like, yes, he technically won the first Super Bowl for the Buccaneers, but I always just discredited that because to me he stole Tony Dungy's team.
Right.
That's the way I've always looked at it. And then, yeah, he's been a Raider on and off a few times and stuff like that, and whatever, but he's always just kind of seemed wishy-washy with them and stuff like that, and he's kind of a dickhead. And then, he just makes a lot of questionable and stupid decisions, and with the GM. Like, they went, let's just get rid of, like, our franchise player Khalil Mack and get all of these draft picks that will end up drafting a bunch of guys with a lot of questionable issues off the field that we definitely knew about and we could have, steered away from. And then all of those picks end up being completely worthless, and none of those guys are in the league, and some of them are in prison. Really cool idea to get rid of Khalil Mack for those guys. And then, also, we have an opportunity to kind of remedy some of that. Let's bring in Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and really build a culture in Vegas, a fresh start for the franchise. They've had so many issues in Oakland. You bring him to Vegas, you give him a new identity, a new culture, and have a mentor around them. I know that Brady and Gronk might not be like the greatest role models, let's say, but they do bring a certain level of professionalism that makes you work a little harder.
Brady. It's the greatest
Right.
winner in football history. How do you say no to bringing him in?
Well, then, but what I mean is, I think that the professionalism he brings to the room, like, I'm not saying that Henry Ruggs wouldn't have done what he did, but I just wonder if because you have the expectation and you have that like pressure from a guy like Tom Brady in your room, maybe you make some more careful choices in your life and this and that, whatever, because you don't want to jeopardize fucking up what you could have with Tom Brady. Unless your name is Antonio Brown, and then in which case you'll just dance in the end zone while Tom Brady's taking the field. But um but you know what I'm saying though, right? Like I think that guys are less likely to have character issues when a guy like this comes into the room, because you're like, oh shit,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
I've gotta really take things, a different level of
yeah,
seriousness.
guys are less likely to, but the problem is that the Raiders had this issue for years, though.
For sure, but
This
that's what
isn't
I'm
like a
saying
new
is maybe
thing.
he
So
could
like
have
this,
come in and
I just don't think I no, but like I
listen. Regardless, though, you do not say no to Rob or to
well, yeah,
Brady and Gronk.
that's the piece. Yeah, of course, you don't
It's
say no to Brady and
insane.
Gronk,
It's fucking insane. And
and they
then
were wrong.
they were super wrong. And the thing is it pisses me off with Mark Davis as well, because I'm just like, so let me get this straight, Mark. Like, you have the faith in John Gruden above anything else. Like, he
Well,
always listened to exclusively what John Gruden had to say about everything, and his word was the gospel.
well,
And I
not
just
even
don't
getting in.
understand.
Well, not even getting into the fact that Dana White has to be the one that's making moves for the Raiders and not the Raiders. Like the fact that like he apparently is trying to do more to help the Raiders win football games than the Raiders were during this situation, which I don't know how involved Dana White actually was, but he was like, I was trying to help
Yeah.
put that together. It almost happened, and then it didn't. So it's like one of
I,
those
I,
things.
I think some of it's slightly overstated, but I think
Well, of course it is, but
I think that what he did is he was looking at it because maybe he has some kind of financial investment into the Raiders and stuff like that. Who knows? Being a big Vegas guy. But so the thing is like he facilitated putting courtside or cage side, I suppose, at a UFC event, Mark Davis and Tom Brady, giving them that meeting and kind of, trying to schmooze that whole deal to happen.
mhm.
Um, which, yeah, I mean, if you have John Gruden and you trust him implicitly and stuff like that, great, I guess. But if he's telling you not to take the greatest quarterback of all time with the greatest tight end of all time, you're gonna need to. That's a lot of red flags right there. I'd be like, "What? Are you sure?" I would pull that trigger. And in the Raiders' defense, the only thing that I could give them is the fact that they have been known to pull the trigger before, and it's went really badly, such as Antonio Brown as the most recent example, and some others. And also, Tom Brady looked horrendous that final stretch in New England. I mean, his last play of his career there was a pick six, and it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen a
That
man
was the
look.
greatest thing I've ever seen.
I've never. Well, yeah, I don't mean as in like that I cared at that time. What I'm saying though is, like this man just looked defeated. He looked like shit. It looked like it was over, and it looked like the most pathetic ending to a career you've ever seen. So, like in that way, I have to give them the benefit of it there. And even then, like that's why when he went to the Bucks, people were telling me, "Oh, well, he's gonna suck. Like you're just getting the shitty version of this, that, whatever." Obviously, that ended up being wrong, thank God. But like, I guess technically speaking, we didn't know. So if I had the option between the sad-looking, terrible Tom Brady who was throwing pick sixes against the Titans, or Derek Carr who still seems like a really high-quality quarterback, I kind of see it. But still, I mean, in hindsight, it's always easier. But like, God, man, how do you say no? So
Yeah.
I think for me as a fan, it would have been significantly harder to swallow if it wasn't for the fact that he went to the Buccaneers. Because if he went to the 49ers with Gronk and they went and won the Super Bowl, and I found out that the Raiders could have done that, you would never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
I would be so fucking pissed because it would just be yet another black eye on the Raiders, and it still is. I
Yep.
mean, they had all of
No,
the
they still
nonsense
look
last year.
stupid. They
They
still
have
look stupid. It's
all
just
the
like
nonsense from last year, and then this. It's
it's
like,
still well,
God.
no, it's still a black eye in the franchise. It's just that
Yes.
ultimately they wanted the Buccaneers, so you just don't care as much. That's
Yeah,
just all it
exactly.
is.
So I don't care.
Yeah.
But Raiders fans specifically, like, die hard, you're all in on the Raiders. I mean, I couldn't imagine. Like, you would have to be more pissed than,
Of
like, you.
course.
I mean, that's insane. Like, if I found out that the Glazers had wined and dined Tom Brady to come to the Buccaneers, and then at the last second, Dirk Cutter or whoever the hell, or no, we had Bruce Arians by then. If Arians was just like, you know what? Nah. And then he went to like Seattle or some shit, I would have been furious.
Right.
I mean, you can't. Yeah, there's no way to
No, there's
justify
literally
it.
no justification. It's stupid. They're
It's
stupid.
very, very stupid. So,
I'm
yeah.
just excited that next week we're actually gonna have some real football to talk about, of some
Thank
games coming up.
God
Yeah.
that there are some things that have actually happened. Football that
Oh,
counts is back, baby. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish will be 1-0, and it will be glorious, and I can't wait.
me too, man. It's gonna be great, and we're gonna be riding along, baby, when it happens. It's gonna be great.
That's right. Pizza Nation, ride along with us, and we hope you have a good week. We will see you next time, and hopefully your sports teams do good, unless they are Ohio State.
Pizza Nation will continue to ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Oh, this is a lot
Ow.
harder to do with my new setup.